Wishing a Rouzez here, and today we're talking about Warcraft, specifically my favorite in the series, Warcraft 2: Tides of Darkness. After hearing everyone talk about the new Warcraft movie, I felt inspired to whip out the original DOS games developed and published by Blizzard. I had a couple of the games when I was a bit younger and wanted to see if that same love still burned for this cheeky real-time strategy. Many people say that one of the first examples of a real-time strategy game, if not the first example, is a title called Utopia, released in 1981. The following year, Byte magazine described a game called Cosmic Conquest as a real-time space strategy game, which is very likely the first occurrence of the term. However, it was Dune 2, developed by Westwood Studios in 1992, that popularized the expression and the genre. It also influenced other RTS titles like Command & Conquer and, of course, the Warcraft and StarCraft series. Out of all the RTS titles that contended with each other in the early to mid-90s, Warcraft was my favorite. What can I say? I like pixelated orcs who sound like Fozzie Bear.
Your task is simple enough that even the war chief feels that you are capable of it.
Seriously, they all sound like Muppets. I feel like this narrator really could be Frank Oz. I booted up Warcraft 1, Orcs and Humans, and it was still pretty fun, though it's apparent I've become spoiled on much more advanced games as I found myself whining about mechanics the game lacked. One of the biggest issues for me in the first game was not being able to control many characters in one unit, only 4 at a time, and for whatever reason, if you wanted to build something, like a farm or a barracks, it had to be by a road, which you also had to build. That really proved annoying to me, and my patience ran thin. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's super charming and extremely well done for the time it came out, but I desired more. So I booted up Warcraft 2, one of the best RTSs of all time. As you can see, this is a game that relies on gathering resources like lumber and gold, and many of the objectives involve building up a strong army using these resources to defeat the enemy. Warcraft calls its levels scenarios, and each one has different objectives which are given to you at the beginning of each one. Warcraft 2 got rid of those pesky roads so you can build things wherever the fuck you want, as it should be. The graphics got cuter, the characters got cheekier.
My tummy feels funny.
Say hello to my little friend.
The scenarios were way more balanced, and you could make sheep explode. You can play as either orcs or humans, but I never played as humans, cause look how boring they are. Elves and knights and footmen and peasants, nah, I'll pass. I always play as the orcs. Unlike that piece of turd, Rome Pathway to Power, Warcraft is a game that does depend heavily on your strategy. The way you play the game, the army you choose to train, the boats you choose to build, the upgrades, the buildings, the paths you take, they all matter, and some strategies work better than others. My strategy is to train 1,000,000 peons, max out all my weapons, train a bunch of trolls, and create a wall of axe-throwing berserkers that no one could possibly get through. Pwned! I cannot believe I just said pwned. You don't start out with the ability to create huge armies though, you've got to work up to that. The game starts you out with fairly easy objectives in the first few scenarios. For the first one, you just have to build some farms and a barracks, and for another, you have to build oil platforms and a shipyard. The game does a really good job of teaching you the ropes while slowly amping up the difficulty level. And trust and believe, this game does get difficult. I had casualties all over the place, it was sheer chaos.
This is war, Peacock!
It can be really stressful at times, but extremely enjoyable. I find that even when I failed a scenario, I remained motivated to develop a different plan and try again, versus throwing poop at my screen and quitting. I like all the different species in the orc campaign. You can train peons, grunts, trolls who can be upgraded to berserkers and can be trained to perform special abilities, two-headed ogres who can be upgraded to mages who also can be trained, death knights who are just friggin' badass and can raise the dead,
When my work is finished, I'm coming back for you.
and 2 types of goblins. The first type flies a zeppelin and sounds like a cutie patootie.
I can see my house!
And the other goblins love explosives.
We've got explosives! Kaboom!
Well, that was sad. Long live Tad, Ted, and Todd. Their reign was short but feisty.
Oh, it's beautiful!
To get these characters available, you must construct the correct building that they can train in. The Death Knights building is my personal favorite. So edgy. And if you get completely lost and want more information about the building types, characters, scenarios, Blizzard still hosts their original Warcraft site. This shit is straight out of GeoCities. I love it. You can also eventually train dragons, which I wasn't able to do for my playthrough, but they look extremely badass. Who doesn't want to ride a dragon and wreak havoc upon all who defy you? There's a few other things that can help you wipe out your enemy. It took me a while, but I personally found a new appreciation for watchtowers. As soon as I figured out that you can upgrade them to cannon towers, I used them everywhere. You can also build catapults, which dish out some decent damage but also get owned with a few swift punches from the enemy.
Okay, we're being attacked! Yes, Master.
Holy crap, they just beat up a catapult with their fists. That is intense. And if you upgrade your characters enough, they can learn spells, but honestly, I prefer just beating the crap out of people using the ogres. But it's important to be careful with your resources because you can run out, and when you run out of gold, lumber, or oil, there's only one thing to do. Cheat. Glittering prizes. Ah, yes. There, all better. The scenarios can sadly get a little daunting and redundant. They do like to change up the terrain from time to time, but I felt like I was seeing a lot of the same. Warcraft 1 was a little like that as well, though it was land-based, whereas this game saw the inclusion of water battles. Just when you thought fighting the enemy was hard enough as it is, you also have to worry about battleships and transport boats. And man, there is nothing more annoying to me than transporting orcs across the rivers to other islands. All of these things really add a new, challenging feeling to the game, but it's really hard to keep an eye on both your base and your boats in the shipyard. These buildings are constructed on the coast, basically in the water, and you can use them to create boats that collect oil, which you'll need for the destroyer boats and the juggernauts. And trust me, there is nothing more satisfying than creating a small armada of juggernaut ships and taking your enemies down. They are hardcore. The best thing about all this? The pirate orcs singing.
Yes, Captain? Aye, matey? Who wants to sing?
These orcs, man, I can't get enough of them. They're so cute. By the way, if you feel like having a LAN party, these games still work in DOSBox, which supports multiplayer. So if you get tired of being slaughtered by the game's AI, you can always slaughter your unsuspecting friends. Another cool thing you can do is record your own lines as waves and put them in the game. Imagine your orcs having custom voices. I don't have to take orders from you or anybody. I'd like to read a poem. Can you hear me saying nothing? A single calcified tear. Clambake. Subscribe to Brutal Moose on YouTube. It's too perfect. When I picked this game back up last week, it felt no different than when I played it on one of my first computers back in 1995. Back then, it was fun, exciting, and slightly addictive, and the same holds true today. I was really impressed by how well it held up. There are 4 other games in the Warcraft series: Warcraft Orcs and Humans, which I mentioned before, Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, World of Warcraft, I don't even know what that is, and Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. The first 3 titles are real-time strategy games, Hearthstone is a digital card game, and World of Warcraft, or WoW, is of course an MMORPG and also the most successful out of the 5. World of Warcraft has risen to such popularity that the original 3 titles are often obscured by its massive success. In fact, I know quite a few people who have only played WoW and aren't familiar with Warcraft at all. So if you're in that camp, I highly recommend giving any of the first 3 games a try. Tides of Darkness is obviously my favorite, but they're all really great and deserve some appreciation. Besides, don't you want to learn the Orcish language? Oh, the cuteness, it's just never ending. I can't even. Alright guys, back to work. For the Horde!
We're being attacked!
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my review on Warcraft 2. What's your favorite game in the Warcraft series? If you want to see a review on a game that tries to be a strategy game but fails completely, click on the annotation to the right. If you want to see a video about Laura Bow, my favorite female protagonist, check out the annotation on the left. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon campaign where there are rewards like personal postcards and private live streams, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.